Howdy-doody. Welcome to Cajun Connection, where we bring to you Louisiana sports. I'm John Boy, and I'm here today with my co-host, Billy Bob Josh.
Well, howdy there, partner. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Okay, I just had to do that. You know.
Oh, you had fun doing that?
Yeah, just kind of,
Yeah.
All right, so I know you wanted to say a few things.
Yes. For those who may have been sleeping under a rock, in case no one knew, this past Sunday morning, the basketball world suffered a terrible loss. Lakers legend Kobe Bryant was killed in a helicopter crash along with his 13-year-old daughter Gianna. Huge loss for the basketball community. Huge loss for the sports community. Knowing the type of legend that Kobe Bryant was. I mean, he's a 5-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, 18-time All-Star, Olympic gold medalist, and he has been loyal to the soul in LA. I mean, the Grammys, they did a tribute to him starting off the Grammys because the Staples Center, that's a house Kobe built. And I just cannot imagine, what Vanessa's going through, his wife and his other 3 daughters. To lose your husband and a daughter at the same time, that's hard. So my prayers go out to the Bryant family, everybody that was close with Kobe, to the whole basketball community. I have friends and family who were huge Kobe fans and it really hit them. Not only that, and I saw a post on Facebook saying Kobe died twice that day. The first time he died was from a broken heart. Probably looking into the eyes of his daughter, terrified, knowing that there's nothing he could do to protect her. And it's hard. And my mind's been clouded ever since I heard the news. I remember when you had texted me about it while I was at work. I was like, you probably had to come across some fake news. Like, there's no way, because we just saw Kobe, Saturday night? When LeBron James passed him on the scoring list? And then next thing we know, he's gone. What was so cool about it that, after his death, the NBA teams, they were doing 24-second and 8-second violations in his honor, which I thought was, very classy of him. And, rest in peace to one of the greatest to ever touch a basketball. One of the greatest to ever get on the basketball court. Kobe Bryant may be gone, but his legacy will never be forgotten, and his legacy will always live on.
And just... I know Kobe's the big name, but just we can't forget the other 7 people who were on there with him. So,
their lives were just as important as his.
Another father-daughter couple was there,
and a couple of Gianna's teammates were also there as well.
Yeah. So, tragic loss over the weekend. It's never fun to talk about that sort of stuff. But okay. Let's get on with the rest of the program.
Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant.
All right, LSU coaching. Coach Joe and his LSU Tigers are kind of tasting a bit of the fruits of the championship success, and that is shakeups, to say the least.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that Coach Brady is officially left to be the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers.
Well deserved.
Wish him the best. Coach Aranda was named the head coach for Baylor, replacing Matt Rule.
Also well deserved. Coach Aranda, he's been contemplating about becoming a head coach, and I think this is a perfect job for him.
And he took with defensive line coach Dennis Johnson and
offensive analyst Jorge Munoz.
Yeah, Jorge Munoz, who was actually being considered to replace Joe Brady, but he followed Coach Aranda to Waco. In the other, I forget his name, but the receivers coach was actually offered a job. Or was it receivers or secondary?
I think it was secondary coach. And he had decided to stay.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing thing. because we may have lost a lot of weapons on offense, on our offensive coaching staff, but we gained a very familiar face. And to the true LSU fans, during his first stint, I hope y'all remember how dominant our defense was. You want to tell them the good news, or you want me to tell them?
Oh, and I think most people know at this point that Bo Pelini has officially come back on the LSU staff to his second stint as defensive coordinator, officially stepping down from
Youngstown State.
Where he was the head coach for 5 years. Actually got them to the championship game back in 2016.
And he also had some success as Nebraska's head coach.
Yeah, they kind of jumped the gun there, you ask me.
A little. I mean, I think they jumped the gun when they fired him, honestly.
Right.
But I mean, Bo Pelini is a really good coach, and during his first stint, I mean, his defense, when you face his defense, that was where offenses came to die. I mean, it was like when you're scheduled against LSU against his defense, it's like you are just sending your offense to a slaughterhouse going against his defense, especially when he was during his first stint at LSU. So that's why I believe this was an amazing hire by Coach Orgeron. You bring in a familiar face back, a guy who knows the system. And yes, things have changed, things have evolved, but I mean, if his second stint is anything like his first stint, LSU defense is going to dominate. This is going to be a defense that's going to suffocate anybody that steps in their path.
Yeah, not to take away from Coach Aranda, but I do kind of feel that the 4-3 is more of a natural fit for LSU. However, you do have players like Tyler Shelvin, who is a true nose guard.
Yes, I mean, as big as he is, I mean, he's like, the guy's like 350 pounds.
So completely abandoning the 3-4, I think, is just not in the best interest. I do believe you have to work with the personnel to which you are given, who you have. Even though Bo Pelini does like the 4-3 better than he does the 3-4, you kind of have to come in and use the personnel that you have. Now, they can, in the future, recruit towards Bo Pelini's defense, but, right now, they still kind of have to use the players that were accustomed to Dave Aranda's defense. So it should be interesting to see that transition there. I do like the hire, though.
I love the hire. Love it.
So that was the biggest replacement that Coach O had to come up with. Now you have to replace the defensive line coach. You have to replace the
passing game coordinator,
and the offensive analyst. So,
well, I mean, you think Coach Esmaker could probably handle the passing game responsibilities? I mean, I know there are some things that he learned from Joe Brady, but you think he'll be able to? I mean, from the things that he took from Joe Brady, do you think Coach Esmaker can handle those responsibilities?
I do, but at the same time, you do have to look in the programs with the most successful offenses have passing coordinators.
Okay.
So I do think replacing Coach Brady, while not the biggest, most essential thing to do, they have covered that with the hire of Bo Pelini. That was the biggest hole in the coaching staff. Finding a suitable passing coordinator to replace Joe Brady and complement Coach Ensminger does need to happen.
It does. I mean, and we saw how Coach Ensminger had that sharper edge when it came to coaching that offense. I mean, having a guy like Joe Brady by him. I mean, I don't think they're gonna get a guy as good as Joe Brady, but they're gonna get a guy that's gonna be able. They need to find a guy that's gonna be able to gel with Coach Ensminger.
Yeah. And so yeah, there's that, and finally, rightfully so, Coach O was rewarded for his national title with LSU by signing a $42 million 6-year extension to be the head coach.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I know Coach O is a very happy man. I guess he's going to be looking for his summer home very soon. But well-deserved from Coach O. He has done an amazing job since taking over as a full-time head coach.
So, we are coming up on the deadline for the final into recruiting. We already had the early period where where they signed 19 players, so they officially have um, 6 spots officially. Although they still, I think they still have 3 or 4 guys out there who are already committed who didn't sign, but we're going to sign in February. They do still have to hold on to those guys. Most of them, I think, most of those are coming. There's 1 or 2 that are still a bit of a question mark. And they did land an additional 2 recruits. I forget the names. These just broke, so I haven't really been able to look into it too much. But I do know it was a receiver, a 4-star receiver, and a 4-star running back.
I think with this, with the recruiting class, I mean, those who have committed and signed to LSU already, I mean, the ball's in their court. I mean, they're in a dream scenario. I mean, you look at all the players that have already left. I mean, just the aspect you're coming in, you're playing for the defending national championships and the defending national champions, sorry, and you probably get to play immediately just because of the holes that LSU needs to fill, and they want to try and fill with the best guys possible. So these recruits are highly motivated to make an instant impact coming to LSU.
Yeah, and so. As of right now, they have 1 spot left open. Not entirely certain. I know they've been pretty active with some defensive linemen out there. A handful of offensive linemen. I do think that it will be a lineman who fills that official final spot. The fact that they signed the 4-star running back tells me that they have moved on from Zach Evans.
Definitely. I mean, there's been a lot of inconsistency with him during his recruiting season. He decommitted from Georgia, and I thought this was going to be another John Emery scenario, but it seems that Zach Evans is on the fence right now.
Yeah. So, rather than continue to ramble, let's move on to the next topic. This is officially the end of this segment. All right, moving on from coaching to basketball. All right, welcome back. Basketball. I guess we can start with men's basketball, who just beat Texas Longhorns this past weekend.
Another close battle for the Tigers, but they moved on to their 8th straight victory.
And that's something to me is a little bit of a concern when you sit there and think about it. They had a double-digit lead against Florida, 10-point lead, I want to say, and going into the final 3 minutes, lost that, ended up winning by 2. Had a 16-point lead against the Longhorns, gave that up, ended up winning by 2. There's a pattern here. For whatever reason, they cannot seem to hold on to a lead.
I mean, it's a concern. I wouldn't say it's a concern right now, but it's when they get into, like, the closer we get to March is when LSU needs to start tightening up on how to finish games, because eventually that's going to haunt them. I mean, you're already in a tough conference. I mean, they got to go to Alabama tomorrow night. And Alabama's they're not as good as they used to be, but they are a very gritty team, and they can compete with anybody in the SEC. They've been proving that. But as LSU gets closer to March, and if LSU wants to make a deep run in the tournament this year, they got to learn how to finish games, and they got to learn how to keep their foot on the gas pedal. Because eventually it's going to haunt them, and it's probably going to hit them in the worst way.
Right. Okay. Let's take a look at some stats here. The men are officially 15-4, 6-0 in the conference, 10-1 at home, 4-1 away, and 1-2 at neutral sites. I would say that Skylar Mays has officially taken on the role as like the closer of this team. Seems to be the leader of this team. Javonte Smart has really come along as a scorer after kind of like an okay freshman year.
And also Darius Days, I mean, leading the team in rebounds with almost 8 rebounds a game. I mean, he's a guy that LSU heavily depends on in the paint.
So, you know, this is a really good LSU team. I'm impressed so far. Although I am starting to get to a point where I more or less expect this from Will Wade's teams. What I need to see now is more consistency with taking and holding the lead.
And not getting into these, I mean, you're going to encounter close games, but, I mean, what I'm seeing from LSU is that this is a team that has a lot of heart and grit, and this is a team that knows how to dig deep and knows how to keep pounding and pull out victories. But they got to be careful because if they start falling behind it, they might put themselves in a hole they can't dig themselves out of. But I mean, I'm impressed with the team so far. They're finally back in the top 25. Last time they were in the top 25, they ended up getting knocked out by ETSU at home, and so hopefully LSU can keep this momentum going. March is slowly approaching, and this college basketball season has gone by a lot quicker than I thought, a lot quicker than we all thought. And so we're getting closer to, we're deep in the conference play. We're getting closer to March.
Yeah. Where we run into some questions is with women's basketball. I'll be honest, I have not been the most impressed with women's basketball. But then again, like we have said in the past, we are talking about comparing to a team that once had the likes of Simone Augustus,
Sylvia Fowles, Erica White, Pokey Chapman at head coach.
Yeah.
I mean, back when Pokey Chapman was the head coach, they were the squad to play for. That was the team to beat. I mean, in the SEC, who could hang with LSU? The only team that was able to stand toe-to-toe with LSU was Tennessee, and this was a Pat Summitt team we're talking about. I mean, may God rest her soul. When we get to tournament time, who's a team that LSU always runs into? You had teams like Rutgers, led by C. Vivian Stringer, UConn, led by Gina Auriemma, and Baylor, led by Kim Mulkey. And those teams, the top 5 teams in college basketball every year for women's was LSU, Tennessee, Rutgers, UConn, Baylor. It was those teams. So, but the dynamic has really changed, except if you're UConn. But I haven't seen that same venom out of LSU since the departure of Pokey Chapman. And I started noticing a decline towards the end of Van Chancellor's tenure as head coach. And Nikki Caldwell became head coach, and I saw some good things of LSU women's basketball. I'm seeing some good things this year, like when they had their victory over Kentucky, a big win over Kentucky at home. They were able to take Mississippi State, who's a top 10 team, down to the wire. They were able to take a very talented Tennessee team down the wire. But it's just, I don't know if LSU's going to get back on the map to being that powerhouse we've always been accustomed to seeing.
Right. Well, they are 14-5 overall. However, they're a mediocre 4-3 in conference, and that is pretty much going to be the thing that ends up hurting them, if you ask me. Is that conference record? Because that is largely what the committee looks at first, is your conference record.
Well, LSU has always been a team that they've always had a knack for going to the NCAA tournament, but I haven't seen late runs from I'm gonna go back to the Pokey Chapman team because I missed that LSU women's basketball because they were fun to watch. They were always a team that was always going to Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4. I have seen improvement over the past season or two from Nikki Caldwell's Tigers, but I don't know. I'll just have to see a little more from them.
You think it's recruiting, not being able to nab those big name recruits?
I think it is. I think it's heavily on recruiting, not getting those top players like LSU used to get.
Because you look at recruiting in women's basketball has certainly dropped off as far as recruiting versus Will Wade, who has routinely gotten top 10 classes the last 2 to 3 seasons. So, I do think there's a difference there as far as the caliber of recruiting has been.
Well, like I said, I'll have to see more from the LSU women's basketball team. If we really want to see how good they really are, because, there's no doubt these girls are good. They are. But if we want to see how good they really are, we'll have to wait until the SEC tournament. And if they were able to make it into the NCAA tournament, in which they do have quality wins on their resume, we'll see how good they really are. I would say this late push for the rest of the season is going to determine their recruiting for next year.
Obviously, I do think the men are going to make the tournament.
Oh, well, without a question. I mean, I see them getting an at-large bid. I say if they get about 5 more victories, I see them being an at-large.
Yeah. Well, obviously they're going to compete for the SEC title also. So.
Well, I hope they, if they're going to win the regular season SEC title, I hope they don't get exited after the first game of the SEC tournament, because that happened last year against Florida.
Yeah, it did.
If there's one team in this conference that's always had LSU's number in conference play, it would be Florida. But with this LSU basketball team, there's some people that's not sold on the men's basketball. I mean, yes, we're back on men's basketball, but there are not people that's really sold on them because of the close games and them not really being able to finish out. I think we're going to see how talented these guys are when they get to playing Kentucky and Auburn. Those are going to be the 2 games where we're going to see if they can pull out victories against them, then there's going to be a lot of believers in these guys.
Yeah, that's my assessment as well. Kentucky, for certain, is always a measuring stick, and Auburn's doing really well this year. Like you said before the show started, they're 17-2. So, yeah, and that's the way I see it myself. All right, so that wraps up this segment. We'll move on to LSU baseball, and then finish that off with talking a little bit about LSU softball and Beth Farina's squad. Okay, and we're back to Cajun Connection. We're going to talk LSU baseball now in the upcoming 2020 season. So the expectations have not been piled on this LSU team as much as they were last year. Last year, they opened up the season ranked either first or second, depending on the poll. They shared the number 1 spot with Vanderbilt, and
They just turned into their downhill slide after.
Well, as far as LSU expectations go, it was a bit of a disappointment. The 2-0 sweep at home in the Super Regionals to Florida State. So, congratulations to Coach Martin for that send-off. One last try at the World Series before retiring.
But he does not have a ring.
Yeah, no.
I hate to sound cold about it. I mean, he's taken so many trips to Omaha, but could not. So close, but no cigar.
Mm-hmm.
But storied career though.
Yeah. So let's see. The highest that the LSU baseball team opens up this season is 12th, ranked 12th. 11th. But they're anything from, I want to say they're 11th in the Division I baseball rankings and 14th in the coaches poll. So a little bit of rings there, but not a top 2 team expectations as far as coming into the season goes.
Well, I mean, I think it's like people saying that don't get your high hopes for LSU baseball. I mean, we had high expectations for them last year, and they did not deliver. LSU performed way under expectations last season. So I think with them being ranked so low, it gives them kind of leeway to really prove themselves. And so I believe that this LSU baseball team is going to come in this season with a chip on their shoulder.
They came in and said that there's a lot of things that they need to work on this year, and one of those was defending against base stealing. Last season they gave up 88% of stolen base attempts. That's not good.
That's definitely not. How you give up 88% of base steals?
So I want to say the official statistics was something like opponents were 92 for 104 against LSU last year when trying to steal. Like it's not a good statistic.
LSU turned into a team they're easy to rob. Like, give me that base. Like, run me that.
So that consistency at the plate is going to be an issue. Consistency with pitching. Now, granted, the pitching staff did suffer a lot last year with injuries. Jaden Hill was down. Stars was injured. LaBosse was injured. Marceau had some early season injuries, and he was able to come back and be ready for the postseason, which he was really good at. At least in the SEC tournament and the regional. Now, we can sit here and argue back and forth as far as the super regional goes, but I think that was more on LSU's inability to produce runs when it really mattered than the pitching.
My thing is, and I said the last time, is health and consistency. If LSU can have health and consistency down packed, LSU is a team bound for Omaha. Hands down. They got the talent on the team. They got the coaching. They have all the tools necessary. They just got to be able to put things together.
Right. So they do have some things to look at. But this also reflects a little bit on just where they are as a program and expectations coming in. They only had 2 players named to the preseason All-American list, and that was outfielder Daniel Cabrera and sophomore pitcher Cole Henry. Cabrera was named to the second team, so no first team.
When's the last time that happened?
Not. You probably have to go back to Coach Maneri's first 2 seasons.
Oh.
So
That's
so yeah.
That's reaching far back.
Mm-hmm. But Cabrera was named to the second team, and Cole Henry was named to the third team. Also, a little bit noteworthy, Daniel Cabrera was given the number 8 jersey, which is the baseball team's version of 18.
Right. I mean, when did that start? That started with Mikey Matsuk, huh?
I want to say, yeah. Either that or Matt Ott.
Probably him, maybe.
I want to say it's Matt Ott.
Because number 8, that's a legendary number for the LSU baseball team. It's like you said, number 18 being for LSU football. It goes to somebody that basically like an undisputed leader of that team, a guy that you got the guy that's the hardest worker, first in, last out, a guy that the teammates look up to. So I think it's very well deserved by Daniel Cabrera to have that number 8 jersey.
Yeah. So there aren't many expectations outside that. LSU is expected to have one of the top pitching staffs in the country this season, especially if they can stay healthy. They got a lot of good guys on that pitching staff, but like I said, they really had problems with injuries last year that really held that crew back, and the freshmen weren't very consistent, but showed a lot of promise. Now I have a lot of high expectations for LSU's pitching staff. That I have high expectations for, if they can stay off the injured list.
I gotta see consistency out of them. I have to before I can really start placing expectations on them. When I start seeing consistency, that's when I'll go ahead and give them those high expectations and be like, okay, they have the potential to do this.
Yeah. All their leaders from last year, their top offensive players from last year, like Antoine Duplantis, Josh Smith, and is it Ben Watson?
Zach Watson.
They're gone. They were the last. I want to say the last holdovers from the 2017 team.
Yeah, I think so.
They were part of that World Series team. They got to the final, but lost to Florida in 2 games. But I'm interested to see what LSU ends up doing this year. They don't have a lot of. Daniel Cabrera comes back as their leader in home runs. He had 12, and I forget who had the next most last year, but they weren't really a power hitting team last year.
And which is very uncharacteristic because LSU has always had their resident power hitter like every season.
I wouldn't say every season.
Well, not every single season, but you know what I mean. Like LSU has always had some guys that have power behind them.
Yeah. Well, Cabrera is a power hitter. He is, but they don't have much after that, or at least not a whole lot of consistency. I know Bianco was expected to be a power hitter and did at times show that ability to power hit, as well as Beloso. He was expected to be a power hitter. He was one of the top home run hitters in high school coming in. So there is that.
I mean, well, beginning of the season is around the corner. I think we got another 3 weeks.
18 days.
18 days, and then they'll be starting off against Indiana, right?
Yeah, which is a scrappy team. They did make the tournament last year and did really well in the regional against Louisville. Could not beat. I think it was Louisville. Could be like Oklahoma, but I'm not sure. Not 100% certain. They performed really well against Louisville. I'm sure it's Louisville, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I'm excited. I mean, the Bucs gonna come alive once again, and this is there's a lot of LSU baseball faithful that are really looking forward to this season. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not getting my hopes up. I had my hopes up last season, but I'm ready for this season.
Yeah. Coach Neri seemed pretty positive, and I don't know. I can't remember if I said this last time, but one of my favorite things from his press conference was someone asked him if he would be able to replicate what Coach Orgeron did with the football team, and his response was, "Absolutely. I guarantee you we'll win at least 15 games this year."
Perfect response. I mean, that's how you avoid having to promise a national championship to Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm. Which, of course, LSU baseball, for the most part, has, since the days of Skip Bertman, been Omaha or bust. So.
Sure. I mean, Skip Bertman, he set the standard for what LSU baseball should be all about.
Okay, well, that brings us up on our time limit for this segment. We have one final segment where we will talk LSU softball, and they start their season, I want to say, a week before the midweek.
I think so.
Yeah, they're typically a week or two ahead. And we're back with our final segment for Cajun Connection. When we cover LSU softball. Okay, so Beth Torina and the Lady Tigers will be taking the field very shortly, in about 2 weeks. They've been on kind of a stretch lately. They've played in 5 straight super regionals, making it to Oklahoma City, I want to say 3 of the 5 times.
I believe so. I mean, Beth Torina has really, she's raised the bar for what LSU softball should be all about, and I'm kind of starting to see remnants of their old head coach. I was Coach
Yvette Goudreau.
Yvette Goudreau. It's like Beth Torina has taken on that moniker of being that, setting the standard of the winning culture of LSU softball.
Yeah, although I do want to say, when comparing her to Coach Goudreau or Goudreau, whatever it was. I mean, she only made it 3 or 4 times to Oklahoma City in 18 seasons. Torina's been there at least 5 times.
And how long has Torina been there?
She's entering, I want to say, her 10th year.
She's been there for quite a minute. But I mean, I'm ready to see. But I think Beth Torina, these girls are ready to take the next step, and that's to play for the title. I mean, they've been to Oklahoma City quite a few times, but it's time to see these girls take that next step and go over that hump and actually bring a ring home to Baton Rouge. I mean, just imagine, football's already brought a national title to Baton Rouge. It would be cool if baseball and softball both bring a title home.
Yeah. So they do have 16 returning starters from last year's super regional team, including Andrews. What was their first name? Aaliyah Andrews. She's senior outfielder. Okay, and she was named to the preseason All-SEC team along with junior pitcher Shelby Sunseri. LSU is coming off of a 43-19 overall record with a 14-10 record in the SEC. Again,
could use a little improvement.
But they had lost a lot of core seniors from the previous year, which was a team that made it to Oklahoma City. So
I mean, with this team being a lot more seasoned, I mean, we're going to see a lot of improvement out of them, especially because they've always brought in amazing recruits, and they got a lot of players coming back. So I got a lot of confidence in this softball team.
Right, and I do think the pitching staff for the softball team is going to be really solid. They have a lot of really good pitchers coming back, including Sunseri. Andrews does lead that softball or Lady Tigers offense and was their top defensive player last year. Um, high expectations, more higher expectations for the softball team than the baseball team.
Agreed.
Yeah, especially with the baseball team coming off of that disappointment. Yeah, the softball team did kind of underperform a little bit from their previous expectations. You know, they went on the road for the Super Regionals rather than hosting it, but they lost to a really good team in, oh gosh, was it Arizona?
I'm not sure.
I don't even care. Irrelevant for me. When I go home.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, I've seen LSU trail in the Super Regional Series and then come back and take the trip to Oklahoma City. I think they got into it with Florida State like 2 years in a row.
Yeah, they went to Oklahoma City and 17 and 18. So
yeah, and I think one of those years they got into it with I remember
they lost to Florida both seasons.
Wait, so they lost to Florida State both seasons? Well, I thought they beat Florida State in the 3-game series.
No, they did. You're thinking Florida State. I'm thinking Florida. They lost in the World Series to Florida both years.
Okay. I'm because I mean I know they played Florida State in the Super Regional, and
Right.
I know that one of those years they beat Florida State to go to Oklahoma City
Right.
on the road actually, and they
Ah.
were actually down. I mean they fell behind by one game, and they were able to take I think the last two.
Yeah. Who was it? Oh, I can't remember. Too long ago. But you know they do return Sunseri, who led the team last year with 86 strikeouts. So had a 2.34 ERA. So that was really good.
Let's see if she can get under 2. It's
Yeah.
doable.
Doable, yeah. So, you know, it's like Beth Arena is just been such a almost taking that program to a whole new level. So, you know, the Lady Tigers are almost reaching that expectation now, where it is Oklahoma City or bust.
I mean, it's kind of like how Oklahoma Sooners softball team is. I mean, this is a team. Their moniker is national title or bust. And so I think that's right. I think still like year by year, it's like LSU's expectations are getting so much higher, and it's like so much are expected by those girls, but they are able to deliver.
Yeah, and like the men, they have a very competitive SEC with Florida, Auburn, and Mississippi State all making the World Series the last 3 seasons. So I want to say two years ago, the college softball World Series, I want to say 6 of the 8 teams were SEC teams. So very, very competitive.
I mean, SEC proves to be the flagship in just about every in every sport.
I want to say, I know Michigan and I want to say UCLA were the only 2 teams in the World Series 2 years ago that were not from the SEC.
I think so too, and then I mean the rest were.
And the final was Florida versus Michigan, which Florida won.
That was in softball, right?
Yeah, softball. But very competitive in the SEC. All right, keep rambling. We'll end it here, and that will be officially the end of our show for this week.
I know I've been using this Kleenex. Look, the sniffles. It just hit me like this morning, and it sucks. It's that time of year. We're in Louisiana, and we're getting closer to the springtime. So yeah, this is my situation going on.
Leave a like if you actually care. See ya.